I'm Tammy Beilstein. Welcome to Tammy's Window on Calaveras. I'm here today with Rosemary Faulkner, and she's going to talk to us about early Calaveras life. And when I say early, I don't mean like the 60s. She's been around here for quite a while, and her family has such a history here. This is going to be really cool. You guys are going to love it. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for asking me.
Oh my gosh, so we should start at the very, very beginning. How did your family even get to Calaveras? Or choose Calaveras? I mean, how'd that happen?
My grandfather migrated from Germany in 1880 to Calaveras County. And my grandmother was a Winkler. And so the Winklers were already here in Calaveras County and established.
Oh,
so my
okay.
grandfather came directly here to be with his brother-in-law and start farming and establishing a home here also.
So your grandparents met in Germany?
Pardon?
Did your grandparents meet in Germany?
My grandfather and grandmother came from Germany.
Okay, and her relatives were already in Calaveras?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
she was related. She was a Winkler in Germany, before she married my grandfather Bossy. And so he came here to establish a home for them. And then 2 years later, in 1882, my grandmother came with her four children, and by herself, and came over here to join him.
Oh my gosh, brave.
I
Brave
thought
people.
so.
Yeah.
Anyway, when she got to Baltimore, sailing from Hanover, Germany, when they got to Baltimore, she boarded the train with her children, and a salesman came aboard the train, and he was selling a book. He spoke very fluent German. He was selling a book about medicine and life in the United States, and so he convinced her she should have that book. And she reached in her bosom to get the money she had from selling the farm in Germany, and he stole the money and ran.
Oh no.
And so my mother and her children, grandmother, I'm sorry, and her children she'd only bought a ticket to Chicago. She didn't know the way of the country. And so when they got to Chicago, they had to go to a poor farm, they called it, which was a county farm for people who were indigents. And they stayed there 6 months until grandfather could raise enough money to bring them all the way to San Francisco.
Oh my gosh. How did he raise the money to get them from Germany to Chicago in the first place? What did he do for a living?
Well, he was a craftsman. He was a shake maker. They call them shingles now that you put on a roof, but they were hand split, and that's what he did. And up in the higher elevation, up on summit level, that these wonderful sugar pine trees, and that was the best material to make shakes.
Wow.
And so that, and plus I'm sure the Winklers helped him, but he got enough money together to bring them out to California.
Oh my gosh, she must have been scared to death when she realized that she was without money in Chicago, in a strange place, and having to live on a farm with probably other strangers and children. Her children. That's incredible.
Well, my father was 10 years old. He was the oldest son of the family. And because he was 10 years old, he was taken away from his mother and put in the men's quarters. So they
At 10.
They lived there 6 months before they got enough money to come out to California. And grandmother, of course, had the younger children with her. Anyway, that was their introduction. And I'm not sure how they telegraphed, informed one another, letters or whatever they could do in that time. Anyway, when they got here, they settled up on Swiss Ranch Road, which is out of Mountain Ranch.
Mountain Ranch, okay.
And that's where they settled, in this house.
Here, let me hold this up so everyone can see.
And that little house is where they lived with their 4 children. One was an infant baby.
This little part in the front.
Yes. And on the side,
Right here.
over on would be my right side.
Way back there.
That's a cow shed there where they had the milk cow.
So how many
And
people lived in that little house?
my grandparents and 4 children. And there's a little loft in the top, but that was their beginnings here in
Wow.
America.
I don't think I could do that.
Well, you know, I don't think I could either, but those old timers had perseverance that we don't.
Oh,
we
my
have
gosh.
no idea how it was.
Oh, that's
And that picture, but they had snow in those days, but that picture was taken later.
right, right. Well, and then your grandfather built this place.
No, I think the Winklers owned that place
Okay.
already. They had settled that property,
Okay.
but the family lived there.
Oh, and is it still there now? How recent is this picture?
It's almost completely fallen down. There's still a rock foundation and
Yeah.
a few boards there, but
Oh.
mostly it's fallen
Do
down.
you want to fix it to put it back to the way it was, or just let nature take its
Well,
course?
the property changed hands many times,
Oh,
and so no, I wouldn't be interested in
Right.
repairing it or
right.
restoring it.
Right. Oh my gosh. So this man here is your father.
That's correct.
Okay, let me show. He looks like such a cutie pie. Look at that face. He looks like a gentleman.
Yes, he is. He was in his work clothes, and that's what we did. When he worked at different jobs. At 11 years old, he had worked for a neighbor, clearing brush and doing some farming for a neighbor person. And he got $1 a day and 2 meals a day. And he worked at odd jobs, and then eventually he got a position in the mines and Angels Camp, where he made better money and saved his money. But when they came back to this property, they went over to the South Fork of the McCallamy River to buy some apples from a family over there. And he saw this valley on the McCallamy River. And he said that was the place he wanted to make a home for his family. And at that time, he was only about 14 years old.
And he already knew what
But
he
he
wanted.
aspired to have that property.
Golly.
And he bought it in 1898.
Ooh.
He
How
started-
big was it?
He started out with 60 or 70 acres, and then he bought adjacent property over the years until he had 5,000 acres.
But he started with 60 acres? That was
Yes.
it. So what did you say he did? How could he afford that?
Well, he
That's
worked
huge.
at odd jobs and he saved his money. And if
How
you have,
much-
if
how
you
much
have
was
a goal,
60
that's
acres?
what you do.
How much was 60 acres back then?
I don't know what he paid for the property.
Man.
I have a lot of documents, but I don't have that particular one.
Yeah.
The people that had settled there and homesteaded established a gold mine, and they went to mining, and so they sold the farm property on the river bottom.
Wow. That is so neat. And so then this lady here is your mother, or is this
Yes.
your grandmother? Your mother.
Yes.
Okay. She's so pretty.
Anyway,
What a nice smile.
so he established that property. I think he borrowed some money to buy part of it. And then my mother and her sisters lived on a farm not too far away. And they'd walked over the hill to this property to visit some relatives. And that's where he met my mother.
Oh.
But he was very young then, and he hadn't established a dowry. So he had to buy a farm, build a house, have a team of horses, a cow, and then after he established that, then he was eligible to marry my mother.
Was that the rule for everyone, or is that the rule her father set?
Well, that was the rule of my maternal grandparents.
Boy.
And so he was 36 years old before he married. Anyway, in this
Yeah.
picture that you looked at the ranch, that's where I grew up.
Oh.
And I'm the youngest of 6 children, all 4 boys and 2 girls. And we walked over the hill to a elementary school. daily to have our lessons.
How far was that?
Well, it was about 2 miles to that school, and then when I was 6 years old, I'm sorry, when I was in the 6th grade, the school didn't have enough children to keep the attendance, and so we had to go to another school at Railroad Flat. That's where the ranch is.
Yeah.
So we went to school at Railroad Flat, and that was 5 miles.
Did you have to walk that?
No, I rode a horse.
Was it 5 days a week like it is now?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm feeling like such a wimp listening to you. I feel like a wimp. I am the kind of person that will make loops around the parking lot so I can get the closest spot next to the store. There you walk into school 5 miles. Wow.
Anyway, that's where I graduated from the 8th grade, and I went to Calaveras High School. There was a bus came up from San Andres to Railroad Flat.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's where I grew up. But our life on the farm was very intense. They raised beans and potatoes for the market. We had about 7 acres of apples, and eventually they had 150 head of cattle. But they started out with a small herd, 6 or 7, and they tilled the farmland and planted alfalfa and cleared off more land to plant more crops. And so we all worked on the farm.
Right.
And,
did he have employees also, or was it
no,
just
we
you
did not.
guys?
I think my father might have had some employees early on to build these big barns and that for the storage of the hay, but his children were too small because he started that right after he got married.
Okay, okay.
And so, no, we didn't have help. The older children helped the younger children, and we weeded and irrigated and harvested the crops, and Papa would go with the team and wagon to Jackson, San Andres, sheep ranch, and he would peddle his wares in the fall of the year. And that was how they got established and kept buying more land.
Golly, what a rough life that would have been. So they would make money certain seasons of the year and have to make it last the entire year, then I'm right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, Papa had a very unique budget. The money that he sold that he acquired from selling the cattle, he went to use that to buy more property. The money that he got from peddling his wares in the various communities, that was for household supplies and cars and anything that we needed for the household.
Yeah.
And he had a long purse like that. And you don't see them anymore, and it had a little snap on the top.
Yeah.
And there was a little short purse at the top for the coins, and then the currency went down in this longer sack. And when he would come home from marketing his produce, he would dump that on the table, and we'd all get to sit around and see how much money he made that day.
Oh, that is so neat. That is so neat.
Anyway.
So your mom worked on the property also?
Mother worked out in the fields.
She must have been a tough lady.
Like the children did, and she raised a big garden and did all the cooking. And they were just happy that they were prospering and they were buying more property and bought an automobile in 1917. And so, no, they were happy. They were prosperous.
How about you guys as kids, though? When you were going to school and meeting other people your age, was there, I don't know, I think about the kids now, how somebody has a newer car than I have, or somebody has cooler clothes than I have. Was there anything you felt like you missed, or were you
Very
satisfied?
few people had automobiles in those days.
Right.
But the one thing we did have that no one else in the community had was an indoor bathroom.
Oh.
I mean, times were tough in those years. And, well, I was born before the Depression. And so during the Depression years, people just pinched and scraped to get by as best they could.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And they went to the outhouse when it was that.
Everybody had an outhouse
Yeah.
except the bossies. We had an indoor bathroom.
Oh my, what did people think? Did they think that was really neat, or did they think Ooh, why do you want to do that in your house?
Well, only my maternal grandmother. She would come to visit my mother, and she wouldn't come in the house because it wasn't sanitary to have a bathroom. And so they would sit outside and visit under the shade tree.
Cute. Did it flush and everything?
Yes.
Okay.
You may have seen some in some old movies. There was a box up on attached to the ceiling,
Yes.
and the water came in the box. And when you flushed it, you pulled the chain,
Right.
and that flushed the toilet.
When my husband and I got our first, the first little condo that we bought, the little extra bathroom had one of those toilets in it, and we loved it. We thought that was so neat. It had the long chain, but that was the loudest toilet I'd ever heard in my life. Was yours loud?
I don't remember that. We were just happy to have it, and we had a clawfoot bathtub and inside, and a basin to wash up in, and a mirror on the wall. And anyway,
Oh, perfect.
yes. So no, there wasn't any, I don't know, jealousy or anything. We
Yeah.
were just.
Things were
but
different,
look,
huh?
we live 5 miles from town. We didn't see the other children or other people unless it was Sunday and people came to visit, or that we went to church at the schoolhouse in Railroad Flat. Then we would see other people.
The schoolhouse was the church in the same
It
building?
was the only large building in the community, and so they had church services in the schoolhouse
Oh,
Thursday night and Sunday.
how nice.
And that's the only time that we would be away from the farm very much.
So I'm guessing, did you eventually someday meet a nice man and marry? Was he somebody close by?
Yes, I eventually married after I was out of high school.
Okay.
Anyway, and that was during the war, so.
Oh, tough times. So what kind of things, at the holidays, we have Easter right now. What sort of things would you guys do at your holiday season for the family, the kids?
We were totally self-sufficient as far as food was concerned. They only bought coffee, sugar, flour, and what we called mush, which was breakfast cereal, oatmeal, cornmeal, and maybe some other kind. And but we ate venison year-round, and the cattle were meant to be sold, not to be eaten.
Oh,
Well, you could get money for the cows, and the venison was free, and they ate on your land, so we killed the venison
how
and
interesting.
ate venison.
That's-
And we had pigs and chickens,
Did you eat them?
of course.
Okay. Just not the cows.
That's right.
Huh, but you eat cows now. I mean, you eat beef now, right?
Pardon?
Do you eat beef
Yeah,
now?
when I was about 16, I think I found out people ate beef.
And it's so good.
Anyway,
That's
we were
neat.
totally self-sufficient, so we weren't really aware of the Depression years.
Okay.
There was one incident I thought was very interesting. Papa had sent away to some firm in the East for some alfalfa seed. And when the alfalfa seed came, it was probably COD, but it came to the post office. And so he went to the Bank of Calaveras in San Andres to get the money out to pay for the seed. And that's when he found out the banks were closed.
Oh, gosh.
So he wrote to the seed company and told them that he didn't have the money to pay. And they said, well, you can keep it anyway.
They did?
And probably because they would have had to pay the
Oh, to have it
postage
sent
to
back.
get it back. It came from Ohio or Kansas or someplace.
Wow, golly, I mean, you've lived through so many changes, so many hard times, and so many advances in every way. I mean,
Yes,
the
I have.
world has changed.
But you know, when you're living that life and you have food on the table and clothes, you don't realize that it's a hard life.
No.
You have 3 meals a day, and you have your clothes, and you have everything, and more things probably than most people have around you.
Yeah.
And so it's not a hard life. It was a good life, and we worked together to bring it together.
Are you interested now in the more modern things like computers, and do you have a cell phone? Do you like that sort of thing, or do you still prefer the old way?
I don't have a cell phone and I don't have a computer.
Wow.
I have no
How do
reason to
you
have one.
live?
I'm retired. And no,
Gosh.
but I have a television.
Well, good. So if you had a chance to relive the years that you lived, which I think would be tough, or to be born, say, maybe 15 years ago and be living now, what would you choose?
I would not trade my heritage for that of anyone I've ever met.
Oh, that is so nice.
Yes. I know how to make butter, and I can milk the cow, and I can saddle a horse, and I could saddle the farm horses. And I know how to do all those things.
Right.
Now, don't misunderstand me. I like getting my milk from the
Yeah.
store and my eggs in a carton.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful to know how to do that and to plant a garden.
Yeah.
Yes.
You probably don't have many fears, I'm guessing. You've been through so much and obviously lived through it and thrived. Are you not afraid of anything? I mean, I can't imagine.
I don't
you-
like snakes.
Well, who does?
No, I'm not afraid of anything.
Such a strong soul you are.
I've had a good upbringing, and I'm taught to be thrifty and do all the right things.
Yeah.
And so it's been a good life.
Yeah. If you were talking to a young person right now, what kind of advice would you give them for their future?
Oh, I'm not sure I could talk to young people today.
Why?
What I see on television and what's happening in the world, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's beside the point.
Yeah. Oh, you have so much wisdom, though. I mean,
Well-
I would love to see you talking to a group of school kids someplace, letting them know what things were really like. And it's one thing to read it in a book, or to watch a movie, but boy, to sit next to you, pretty neat.
Well, thank you. Anyway, we had a very secure life, and it was fruitful. And my parents, in spite of the fact that my father was 36 years old when he married, they were married 59 years when he passed away.
Man.
And so they had a good life together. They enjoyed the work and accumulating and raising their children. And what else is there?
That's the most important things in life. They covered it. That is just so neat. What a neat family you come from. Yeah, you must be very proud.
I am
all of
proud.
them.
I'm proud of my heritage and of my family.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that is so. Now, if you were to think back to your early childhood, middle childhood, what was one of the most memorable times of your life then? Do you have some kind of certain experience that happened that you will remember till the day you die?
Well, one of the things I enjoyed the most and what got the most excitement out of when I was young, the first movie I went to was Shirley Temple.
Oh,
And coming from the farm and being a farm girl and seeing this cute little thing when they're dancing and
Yeah.
all that. And so that was the first time I saw a movie.
was it the theater in Angels Camp? Where did you go?
No, my sister, she was older than myself. She was living in Stockton. And I went to visit her and stayed with her for a couple weeks, and she took me to the movies.
That must have been such a thrill.
Well, it was
fun.
different.
Yeah. Now, did your sister, she just wanted to live in a bigger city? Is that why she went to
Well,
Stockton, or was her
She
husband
was
there?
No, she wasn't married then. She was 10 years my senior. And so when I started elementary school, she was already graduating from high school.
Okay.
And that was in 1932. And that was an interesting experience. We went to Stockton to outfit her to go to work in Stockton and then eventually go to college. And so we went to stay with my cousin. And Papa took us downtown, Main Street in Stockton, and with my cousin. And I remember we went to J.C. Penney. and he gave my mother $25.
Boy, the big bucks.
to
Don't
out-
put it in your bra, though. That's the lesson. Yeah.
Gave her $25 to outfit my sister to go away to work.
Oh,
And she was a valedictorian for her class, so she had a long dress, she had new shoes, she had a suitcase, and I'm not sure what else. But Mother had a little bit of money left over.
oh, yeah.
And so when we're walking through the department store, she sees the children's clothes. And there were dresses my size that were hanging on the rack, and they were 3 for $1.
3 dresses for $1.
Yes.
Wow.
And so Mother said, "Oh my, I'd get these for Rosemary because I couldn't sew them for that."
Oh, that is so
So
neat.
I can remember those 3 little dresses yet.
Oh,
And up to that time, I only had 1 or 2 dresses, and that was to wear to church.
my goodness. So in
Well,
one
we
shopping
were-
trip to Stockton, you doubled your wardrobe, your dress wardrobe. How neat. Oh, that must have been so exciting to see your older siblings doing these
Right.
things that you probably had never experienced
And,
before. And were your parents supportive of your sister and
Oh, of
your other siblings
course.
going off to school?
Oh, yes.
They didn't expect them to stay forever on
Oh,
the
no,
work of the
no,
ranch.
no.
Okay.
Especially women. They were, yes, you know, you had to go get an education, be a nurse or a teacher.
Okay.
Yes.
That is so neat. Golly, I wish I could spend, well, I don't know if I could do a whole day, maybe a half a day with you back then. Oh my gosh, my mind keeps going back to the indoor toilet. That is a crack up. Your dad was sort of ahead of his time, huh?
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah.
When they got married, they went to Berkeley on their honeymoon. They were married up in West Point, and they went to McCalamy Hill, stayed at the Ledger Hotel.
Uh-huh.
And then they went on to Stockton and took the ferry down to Berkeley. And he bought the outfitting for the toilet, for the bathroom while he was there. And it was freighted up to Valley Springs, and then he went with the team and brought it home and installed it.
Oh my gosh, that is so neat. Do you have pictures of the inside of your house still?
No, our house burned in 1948.
Oh no.
And my mother was home alone, and all the contents were lost.
Oh my gosh.
But I got good memories.
Yeah, you do. Thank you for sharing them with us.
Well, thank you.
We are about out of time, but I am not kidding when I say that I could just spend the rest of my night talking to you. I just so appreciate that you came on and shared your pictures and your family with us. Come back again sometime. Let's do
Thank
this
you.
again. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
I'll bring you some more stories.
I'd love it. I would love it. Thank you so much.
It was nice to grow up in the time I did.
I imagine so. Very cool. Hey, oh gosh, we're out of time. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time on Tammy's Window on Calaveras.